Aren't I? Sorry about that. There it is in the recording. So we'll be able to do that. Sorry about the sound. The thing that we're going to be doing is that for 313, it's due at the end of the week, rather than the end of next week is the assignment due, and it's either a game or a tech demo, and it's on our assignment page, on the wiki page for assignment 1. We are resolving the Git issues because our Git repos don't like the size of these Unreal repositories. Even the repositories without the starter content are quite large. So I'm currently in the process of creating a GitHub repo, which will be under the Faculty Engineering Comp 321 Assignment 1. That I'll send out an example of that, and that will allow you to use GitHub to do your project rather than just GitLab. We will also be allowing our comp students to pitch. You'll have to record those 2-minute videos and upload them. You can also present in person. Yes, the end of next week. So if we have a look at the Comp 313 and you go to assignments, you see it's due the 5th of August. So that is when that project is due. I will need a gameplay video if you're making gameplay, or a tech demo video as part of that submission, a link to it rather than uploading the video, link it to anywhere. And the idea is that should tell us, and I should actually say that is the 3rd of August is the pitch date, not the 1st, but it's the 3rd. It's not assessed, right? So that is not assessed for you. You are just trying to build your team. So with that, what we're saying is that you can try and build your team by pitching, but you won't necessarily, you won't be graded on those design documents and the quality of the design documents, and you'll kind of have to manually do some of those. Now I'll just jump over to my office in Discord and start streaming in my office if anybody wants to come and say hello to me there. So that was what I was saying. You can see the assignment 1 has the explanations here with a rubric, and we're going to be doing a rubric weighting system. I'll discuss that more on Wednesday, but it's got a bunch of things, and this should actually, I should edit that to 5.3 because you can't get 5.02 anymore because they've done the update. So this should be 5.02 or 3, and save that. No. So on Twitch, how are people doing? Yeah, so 5th of August is that's the Twitch comment, and that will be the Twitch due date. I can see there's a bunch of programmers who have jumped over into my office to talk to me in Discord. So with that on Twitch, we can keep streaming, and I can keep talking, and will be showing me going through and adding some HUD stuff. Also, we can show off the using of GitHub as your external. We can also change the remote that's on a repository. So with Git, you can have multiple remotes. You can have the submission remote, which is where you submit to, and you can have a GitHub remote, and you can push 2 different remotes. If you only have 1 remote, a push will always push to that remote, but if you have 2, you can push to one by choosing which one you want to send this to. That's quite an efficient way of making sure you've got more than one backup. It also shows that you're understanding how Git pushes work. So that's the idea. That's what we'll be working on. I see there are a group of people in my office who want to talk to me. So what I'll do is I might mute myself on Twitch, and go and if people want to talk to me while I'm sitting on Twitch, that's fine. Are there any Twitch questions before I go and talk to the people in Discord? Nope. Okay, what I'll do is I'll mute the people on. I'll mute my desktop, so you won't hear. So if people ask me questions and they don't necessarily want to be shared in the stream, then that's fine. Today we were going to look at user interfaces and HUDs. It's actually relative. This tutorial you can follow through. I'll just make sure that it shows that it's in 5, even though the canvas, the way that it does things, is the same in 4 and 5. And I should be turning on my camera and sharing that as my virtual camera. Did that work? Or did that crash? Okay, Discord, you can wake up. You are allowed to. Oh. Well, that just crashed Discord, didn't it? That's exciting. I'll just jump back into my office in Discord and turn on camera. There I am. So I've turned on my camera. So Twitch can see me. And yes, I just left Discord accidentally. Apparently, turning on my camera crashed Discord, so it wasn't happy with my camera play. So, Discord people, do you have a question for me? Okay, so we've got some chat questions here. Right, so let's see. Com313 assignment 1 question. In using the engine's behavior tree editor sufficient for implementing an AI technology for assignment 1? Yes, using the behavior tree, certainly showing that you understand how that behavior tree works, and using sequence nodes and using the selector nodes, actually using the different types of nodes in the behavior tree and understanding how the behavior tree editor works and the parts of it, and implementing that in the game, showing you can use it. That would be, that's an excellent example of AI. Is it an A+? Well, it kind of depends on how much you show and how much you do. Okay, so let's see, what else questions do we have here? Add a C++. Okay, right. So Hannah needs help with Git. That's all fine. We can help Hannah with Git. What do other people need? So what we can do is I can do another example of using Git. Now, the Git that I use is I use 2. I use the Git for Windows, which I've installed, which is command line, and also I use Source Tree, which is a graphical user editor for Git. Now, so Source Tree is this one, and it shows you what you're currently at, what you've staged here, and therefore are about to currently add, and you can write your messages here, and it shows you the history of how you got to where you are, right? So those are it depends. Some people much prefer command line. I am happy with either one. So, but we can start from scratch and show it through. In terms of, so we've got another question. Does a game need to have complicated graphics, or is just a plain looking game fine? Yes, grey boxing is absolutely fine. Now, what we mean by grey boxing is that in Unreal, when we have these projects, you see a bunch of these projects have large grey boxes, and that's because you can very easily just add a grey box. And so the idea of grey boxing is I just use grey boxes to lay out my level, the general thing. I I don't put in textures, I don't put in lighting, I don't make it look pretty, I don't add trees, I just add a, you know, tall rectangle, which is a tree, and a big flat rectangle, which is, you know, a car. And so you don't make it pretty, but you just lay out things. So these grey boxes are part of grey boxing. Now, where did I put the A1, V2? Okay, so it's got these ones are all my current ones. So I've been playing with those. So if I just find which one that I'm supposed to be editing, that one. So that was the one that was causing me some problems. So let's see how that's going. So for the Macs, they do have command line Git. Git is installed as standard on all Mac terminals. So when you open up a terminal in a Mac, you will get you can just use Git as a command line tool, and that will be fine. What might be best, Hannah, is if I put up the repo into GitHub so that it's easier for you to download and upload from into a GitHub repo. You can fork a GitLab repo into a GitHub repo. Right, so you have it on I have it in GitHub Desktop on the Uni computer. So there is GitHub Desktop on the Uni computer, as they've required to install GitHub Desktop. If you just keep your entire repo in GitHub Desktop, one of the things, if you're going to create a GitHub repo that is an Unreal repo in GitHub, one of the things that you want to do is, if I grab my GitHub and find where I put it. So this was a blank assignment. The easiest thing to do is, having created a blank assignment, which this was just a raw assignment with no README or any content added to it. As you can see, it's just completely raw. It would need to have a git ignore file added. There are a couple of ways of doing git ignores. But one of them should be, and let's see if I can remember how to do that from this point, is you can download it there, and git ignore, this one here. Alright, so this quick setup, right, create a new file, upload an existing file, readme license, and git ignore. When you click on the git ignore there, it says, oh, you want to add a git ignore? What kind of git ignore do you want to add? And so I think I can find the template. See here, it's going to say, hey, I'm going to commit this file. I think there was, no, where is the template for the git ignore? Normally when you create a project, you get the to see the templates. If you don't, what you do is you just Google Unreal 5 git ignore, and you jump into a git ignore file, and you can see this is the GitHub git ignore master. So this is the GitHub template for a git ignore, and so you can, one simple way is just to copy that lot and put it into your own git ignore file. That is now the same git ignore as the template. In the git ignore, just for people who are wondering about Git, this is, so any folder listed here is ignored by Git, and so the Visual Studio settings are ignored, compiled files. Now this one is an odd one, because if you're using Blender and saving in a raw format, sometimes you can get a .obj file, which isn't a C++ object file. it is an actual OBJ object in 3D. So that's not great, right? So watch out for missing raw files. So that sometimes means that you'll miss a raw 3D model because you're ignoring this .obj extension. Precompiled headers, DLLs and library files are good. Fortran module files, apparently, some of those need to be removed. Compile statistics, executables. So this means that you will not be sharing if you build your project. This will not share your executable with me because it will take it out of the repository. And thus, if you want to actually explicitly share a repository, an executable file in Windows, then you need to actually physically go in and add an exclamation point and then, like, path to executable. If I could spell it right. So I'll put that under a hash at the moment. But this is so that would be ignore executables except when I have this specific executable. The problem is that that's going to be quite large. So if you want to share with me something I can play, then there's actually a whole bunch of stuff we can do around large files and those sort of things, which we were doing here. And then you can read through, these are Xcode and these are generated by the engine. We can ignore all of those. The source art, it's saying precompiled assets. So in source art, it's ignoring anything that's PNG or TGA. Unreal 5 doesn't have a source art file, so that won't hit. It removes the binaries, it removes plugins binaries, it removes all the build folders, except build configuration files, so it ignores all the builds, except things that are under star.build, ignore all of the things under the build /star/ everything and all the subfolders, except that one. So this seems odd, but it needs to say, hey, build, ignore builds, but I'm going to whitelist this file. I have to get down and say this folder is okay, but then don't get anyone else except this one, which is somewhere underneath there, which is pack blacklist. So it's a little bit of workaround to get that to work. And ICO files and build data U assets. Ignore saved, ignore intermediate, ignore. And those. Right, so this is create git ignore from the git, throw in from the github.git ignore template. Now, some of you will hopefully commit this new file, hopefully have all seen this git stuff before, understand how those git ignores. I just thought I'd go through the process. Can't be reached. Really? That's extremely unusual. I've got good internet connection. What did it just do to me? To try and punish me for having not done things. Oh, no, it's there. It's just been committed. So Jay's asked, is it better to use GitHub rather than GitLab? So in our situation, I'm having a meeting to try and make sure that we get the memory we need for these projects. Epic uses GitHub. We have student packs that you can sign up for in GitHub, and the designers are often going to be using GitHub. So there is a lot of good reasons to use GitHub rather than use GitLab. The only thing you need to do is make sure that you submit a link to your GitHub repo and add myself and Kun, which I'll send out his GitHub username shortly, you have to add us to your private repo or make your repo public, right? So those are the only things you have to do if you're working GitHub. Also, as your project gets larger, you might exceed that 5 gig limit. We are currently in negotiations on how either we pay your extension or we buy enough capacity on our own machine. So we're working through that at the moment. Okay, so Hannah's currently in the Tiaro lab. I'm not up in Wellington until tomorrow. But I do have some time if Hannah wants to come, and if anybody wants to meet me, I'll be in person on the Wednesday, absolutely. I'm also looking at staying around over the weekend and working the weekend, so to help people with trying to get this finished, because like some students, you may well have been pushing off doing this until this weekend. So I'm going to try and be around most of the weekend working. I've got a bunch of fourth year students who I'm also helping over the weekend, but I'll be working this weekend, so I'll be available to help with some of those questions over the weekend. And if people need me to come in person, we can also be in person. I will be in person on Wednesday and on Monday and on Wednesdays. For the next 3 labs, I'll be there in person as well as online, and so hopefully we should be able to solve any of those last minute problems. Okay, so do we have someone? So Hannah, you can probably get Billy, who I believe is in the room, to come and help you out, because they understand Unreal and they'll understand Git, and Billy and Tui are both able to use Git, GitHub, and so long as you're using GitHub with this git ignore, right? So this kind of git ignore here, then cloning that repo will give you a repo with a Unreal git ignore, and that'll work. The one thing I was going to do is also put into that repo the readmes and the assignment 1 markdown, which will show up in here. So I was going to upload those having downloaded this repo. So in terms of the using Git, what you do is from this example, what I would do is go to well, I'm not going to fork. You would normally fork this into your own area. I'm not going to, because I'm just going to leave it in here. Oh, and I need to change its status, so I need to change the project settings to making it public. So settings, and access, cancel, and manage access. So make this a little bit smaller. Where is my private issue? Requests. I've forgotten where to make my repo private. Branch station, code analysis, secrets, GitHub. I would have thought it was in this one. Manage. Seems to be loading. Okay, how are we on? I'll just grab my... There we are. Change visibility. Make public. Okay. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to type it out, but I'm going to cheat and just do that. So yes, the Twitch is, well, I'm recording on my OBS, so I am recording. So the question is whether this is being recorded. So this has made this public. What we can do is, Michael, if you're about and I see you there, could you take Hannah and jump into the tutor room 1 down below? And help out Hannah with shared screens, so we can so you can make sure that she's getting through that process. Okay, so Michael, if you jump down into tutor room 1, that'd be great. What have I got? There's apparently no match on my biometrics. A message from New Zealand. Due to low cloud forecast in Dunedin today, there is a potential for your flight to be disrupted. Your flight is currently scheduled to operate, however, we recommend stay up to date. Right, okay, so I'm flying up today from Dunedin, but you've seen all the flight disruptions, so if I get out, I'll be there tomorrow. If I can't get out, I'll have to see how when they can fly me to Wellington. But, you know, that's how we roll. Okay, so what we're going to look at doing, so you see I've just made this open, so other people should be able to see this, and it's just got an Unreal Git Ignore. What I want to do is I want to add a couple of files to it. Now, I can either do that kind of trying to add manually files here and giving them names, or do a pull it down, add the files on my local machine and push it back up. Now this actually will be very similar to creating a game project. What we can do is I will grab it down. Now here you can see code. It's saying how do you want to open it in Visual Studio, directly into open into Visual Studio, or open in GitHub Desktop, or just they're now using a command line GitHub GH for GitHub Desktop repo clone. If normally I would be doing this one, which is using the HTTPS repo, and we probably would add GitLFS to this as well. I've got a GitLFS in my other Git attributes, which does the GitLFS, but at the moment we'll just copy this down, and then in command line, so if I jump into this, I go cd cd so you can see I've got various assignment ones named here. Actually, this assignment 1 that may cause me overlap problems with this is called assignment 1 or one word. No, it won't cause me, so that's going to be cool. So I can do a git pull and give it the copy that back to command line, right click, paste. It gave me the quote marks around, so you have to go and remove those bits because of the way the command line prompt works. So Okay, git pull. Oh, not git pull. What am I doing? Oh, it's git clone. Silly me. Git clone. Because you pull it if it's already a repository. When you're first doing this, it's clone. So, bang. Silly me. So that will pull that down. Now, if I do an ls that, you can see the most recent one here is this 313 assignment 1. And so if I cd into that, and I list all, you can see I've got that git ignore file there, and I've got a git. Now, what I can do is if we go back to Unreal and I look at my Unreal Engine, so I can launch. So launching 5.0.3, I could create a new project here. I can put it into that folder, and then it will be added to the folder. I then go a git add to add it locally. Then I do a git commit to add to take those things I'm proposing to add, actually put it into the repo, and then I will push that to GitHub. So now, while that's opening, I'll actually look at what I've got here, which is ls ... into a1v2, and you can see here I have an assignment 1 readme and a readme file. So I'm going to copy from .. slash a1v2 star dot read md to dot. And you'll now see that I have the 2 readmes are in here. I can do a commit, I can do a git add dot, which will add all those things. So if I do git status, you see that I'm going to add these 2. I then go git commit minus m read me's. So it's added those, and with a message adding readmes. Maybe you don't want to add the s like that. And then I can do a git push. Push. If I could spell correctly, that would help. Git push. Now that will push that up to that main repo. You do not have push rights to that repo, so if you cloned it directly from there, you wouldn't be able to do that. What you would need to do is fork it into your local area, into your own GitHub area. So what we do is from here, if I do a reload, bang, this is now public. What you would do is, you can see now it has my example template there, which the markdown works both in GitLab and GitHub. If you go to the assignment 1, this gives you that information about what the assignment is, and if you then go to the repo itself, here you can download as a zip, do those sort of things, or you can go up here and go fork and create a new fork, and from the Wellington you can put it into your own area and call it a new name, and then go create fork. So that created fork will then be something that is in your personal GitHub area, and then you would be able to pull that down and edit it and upload it. So oh, someone's in Discord with their audio on. Who's that? That's Michael. Yeah. So, were you able to get Hannah underway, or how's that going? Yeah. Yep, so if I just do that and go like that and go copy, and I'll put that in the chat, bang, there we go. So Wellington Faculty of Engineering, Comp 313 Assignment 1. So that should get you to there. And then if Hannah's wanting to fork that, it would also be good. And so GitHub also allows you to do GitLFS, and it makes some things easier. So what I can do is I can actually also, in my local repo for people to see, what I've got is an actual, and if I grab my text editor, I have a Git attributes, which is this, which basically tells GitLFS which of these files is in LFS. Now, GitLFS, you have to add it to your Git install, and so there's a bunch of details around that. But if you have, then it will allow you to say anything that's a U asset or a UMAP, use LFS for it. And any of these large file formats use LFS. And anything in raw content use LFS. So what I can do is that file is actually in my I'll file save as. I can save that into 2022 and code, and this is the one I've just created in GitHub. If I save that Git attributes in there, that means that when I go back to my now, let's actually look at this in SourceTree. Seeing as I've said, I use a couple of different ways of doing this. So let's grab SourceTree. Let's tell SourceTree that I want to add, and I'm going to browse for a local. Oh, that's one of the many local repositories. I want to add, browse, and up one layer, this one that I've just created, select the folder, go add. The repository actually is use LFS, but your local configuration is missing. Yes, so that's actually going to run, because I've just added the Git attributes. SourceTree has recognized that Git attributes means that I'm using LFS, and so what it did is it says, hey, you want to run the equivalent of I think git install LFS, or is it git LFS install? Okay, so yeah, so SourceTree just did that command, right? So git LFS install, updated git hooks, and git LFS initialize. So that means that this repository now has git LFS working on it. Now, what that git hooks. So what Git does is it adds hooks when you do anything. It adds a bunch of hooks, as in when you commit things, when you push things, or when you add things. It calls commands. What GitLFS does is in the commit commands, it goes, hey, wait a minute, you've got some of these that aren't going to go to the normal place. We're going to save them in an asynchronous, slow way. So rather than having to wait for all the content, massive files to download and upload, we'll run that asynchronously, and we'll run it over HTTPS, and yes, it will be slow, but it'll get there in the end. For large files, that's kind of what we expect. It means that you can get all of the code files quickly, but you might have to wait for some of the large assets to come through. And so you still might have to, when you do a push and pull, you still might have to wait for a while for those very large files to finish, but they'll be doing it asynchronously. So if we have a look at the status currently, it says, hey, you added this thing is an untracked file. There's this file, but it's not being tracked. So I would, in command line, I'd do that git add, in source tree, it would say, hey, there's this file. I can look at the file. I can see what it is. I can add my message here and saying adding LFS. Commands and go push immediately. Oh, so here I want to stage selected. I want to stage this file. So okay, come on. Why is it not working for me? Come on, wake up. Do the thing I asked you to. So the reason why this button just here, or maybe I move it this way. No, it's easier this way. This wee button here, right? That is the commit, and it's currently grayed out because I can't, because I haven't added anything to the commit yet. So just a sec, if I turn on my highlighting, you can see where my mouse is more easily. Now it's got that, you can see that this button is now blue, and so I can press it. So I've added that, I've got a command, and I can commit. And that will commit it. Now that keeps it in my local repository. Once I've got a commit in my local repository, I can then push it up to GitHub. So source tree will happily work with Bitbucket, GitHub, GitLab, any of those. The size issues are the ones that we're working on. Hopefully I will have this resolved for GitLab tomorrow, but it's worthwhile having a backup just in case. You can easily change your remote on a repo by adding an upstream, adding a remote, and then pushing to that remote. When you do push, you then give the remote that you want to push to, and you can see here, this is where it says it's got one remote. I could actually, in this interface, I could add remotes here, and so you can see here, fetch remote, and I can actually also, where is it, merge branch, push pull commit, remote. So that takes me to the remote, which is this one here. If I go back, there is a command to add remote. I'm just missing it. Repository. Add remote. There it is. So you can add a second remote, one which would be your GitHub for collaboration, and one could be your submission area or something like that, right? So you can have two, and then when you push, you have to. Once you've got two remotes, you have to choose, do you so push to origin or do you push to submission or something like that, right? So that's what we can look at also talking about. Have we got any more questions? So Discord people, do you have any questions in the chat in Discord? No questions there. Okay, so that's now added that, and I have committed, and because I clicked on the synchronously push, it both committed and pushed it. So if I now go and click on this remote, check again back to this area, you now see I have a get attributes as well as a get ignore and the two readme files. This is you should replace that with your gameplay video. Right, so that's not necessary. A gameplay video for you. So what does GitLFS do exactly? So what GitLFS does is it intercepts the commit messages and the pushes, and it can store it separately. So by default, GitLFS in GitHub and in GitLab stores it to a separate area on the same server, right? Because it's under a GitLFS folder in your project, right? So it's still associated with your project, it's still counted towards your memory, it's just in a separate area. Now what GitHub does is give it, when you are using GitLFS, it allows you to have some more memory, so that it says, hey, this is slow memory, and so we'll give you more of it for free. And so it does store it in a slightly different part of the server, but you don't have to know any of that. However, you can add into this attributes folder. You can either do GitLFS at command line and tell it all the files to add to GitLFS and how to track them and what files are tracked. What that does is actually edit the and update the. Oh, where did that? There it is. This. So it actually, when I add a file to be tracked, it will add it in here, and it'll add as a new line at the bottom. It'll add a new and track this file or track this type of file, right? So it'll add one of these lines. Now, what you can do, and this is a little bit tricky, but you can add a separate URL to a shared repository area. So this is one of the things that happen in large projects, is that you have a massive file store for all of the textures and 3D assets, and all of the content is actually stored in one place. It's not stored in every single repository. It's stored as one global asset across the whole company. So what you can do is, in this GitLFS, you can add that centralized repository into these, right? And say, hey, this is actually, all of these files are going to be looked up and managed in this central repository. And so one of the things we're looking at doing is adding a very large file store. So buying, 30, 40 terabytes of storage, putting it on an HTTPS server on it, and giving you access to that, so that which will store just these Git files, and then you'll be able to put them there, and that will be the slow, lower quality storage area, because those are the big files. They don't need to have instant access, they don't need to be fast, they don't need to be responsive, because they can be very linear, and for big commits in and out of a project, they'll just take time. Right? So GitLFS allows you to do those sort of things, and allows you to add hooks into here to do various things. Web hooks and Git hooks allow you to do a lot of interesting things with your continuous integration, or reporting to Discord that something's been done to a repository. Can actually be done with Git hooks from both GitLab or GitHub. They all have this idea of a hook, something that grabs on when anything changes. Okay, so does that make sense? That it's this kind of, it could allow you to store it separately, but generally what it does for both GitHub and GitLab is it just indicates to them, hey, this is stored separately but still connected to your repo. So if you look, you can look up, we can look up GitLFS separate storage URL. So Atlassian do pretty well written tutorials, and as you can see here, it says, hey, GitLFS, you have your Git repo and then your large file cache. And the Git repo goes to host, and the large file goes to some sort of cloud storage area, right? So it's kind of hooks into that push and says, hey, one of them go here, the other one go here, and you take your Git repo. When you get a working copy, you get the straight through from the repo plus this very large storage file area, which is probably cloud storage, of something, right? So because a lot of the use on our Git lab is done for programming courses which just have text. So they want that to be really fast and snappy, and they don't want you to put massive files there and tie up the CPU on our GitLab install with downloading massive files. And so every time the game course runs, no one else can use the GitLab server. So basically what it wants to say is, no, the GitLab server will only ever be the small files, the C files, the programming files, and everything else will be done in this LFS way, which is large and slow and asynchronous, because so many people need Git to be fast. Okay? So yeah, so this gives you an example of again here, initializing repo, and then that Git LFS install, which is what you saw me do. And you have to tell in Atlassian's Bitbucket quote, you had to tick that on. It's on by default in GitHub, and it's on by default in GitLab, in our GitLab install. So you don't have to go and change that. And then, as it goes through here and you're saying, speeding up clones, so it's pulling and checking out, so it just takes you through. No explicit commands are needed. You don't actually need to tell it, hey, you can just use standard git pull. You don't have to say, hey, this is a git LFS, but you can use git LFS if you just want the files that are in LFS. And so it gives you some advice on how to make that fast. And this tracking og.og file, so that's what I said by, you can say, when you say git LFS track.og, that's saying, hey, all files that have this ending run this webhook on them. And in this case, it will go, oh, look, I've seen that it's going to track all of these. So the reason why it puts the quotes around is because if you just say star og, then the command line will expand your star and give it a list of files. And so you'll get these three as being tracked, and so it will explicitly add those to the tracked file, whereas this will add the phrase star.og rather than expand it immediately into the files that it is, right? So if you add with the quote marks, it will track properly through, and you can track assets and you can add those, and all of those will add to, every time you say track, what it's actually doing is adding to that. Now, do they show it here? No. But you can go and read this. I'll put the Git LFS Atlassian in the chat. Bang. And in the resources down here. Bang. But what I can show you is certainly that if I go and grab my command line, and if I was to do, we can do git status, you can see now I'm now up to date, but if I was to git LFS track star.simon files, it'll go, oh, really? I can do that. I can add Simon files. Eventually it should, maybe if I, I shouldn't need to close that. I'll just close it and see. I've got that, or is it? What did I spell wrong? Git LFS untrack. Yeah, that should be right. Oh yeah, it just took some time. So here you can say it's a tracking star.simon. Now what that's actually done is, if I grab my oh, not new. Sorry. File open. And I go into this one that I've just been working on, and I look at the Git attributes and go open. you'll now see at the bottom here it says, hey, also if something called star.simon, filter grab and add it. Right, so that's either you can call command line and add it to track, or you can just go into the Git attributes and add a copy and paste a line with other things in it, right? And this also means you can add some comments and those sort of things. Okay, so if I remove that, it's equivalent to untracking that file. Okay. Now, you can have Git ignores and Git attributes per folder as well, so that can be quite useful. Okay, so that's 1 o'clock. Wow, that's raced through. What I would like to show is some of the quick stuff on going through. Where did I put it? We just drag these away. Here we go. User interfaces, because one of the things, so if people are comfortable and people on Twitch want me to, I will quickly go through some of the HUD and adding a scene, right? Because one of the things you need to do for your first assignment is you need to add a configuration menu and a start screen and an end screen and some HUD elements, right? So you're going to have to learn how to use HUD elements. If everybody's fine with me doing that now, I will jump in. Seems all good. Seems you're happy with me to work through this and show my example of doing this. So if I grab the top down, that was which one? That one. So we'll just open that one up. So this is just opening up my Unreal. Now, as I said, what we're going to be doing here is adding in menus and HUDs. Right, so this is compulsory. So if you go to this area, now what I've done is I've also added in the lecture schedule, I've added the link to that menus and HUDs, and I'll add the video to this, and I'll probably actually put a stop here and put a separate just doing this HUD menu video and the other Git menu video up earlier. Do you have any questions before I start this? Nope, none there. And there, right, let's get into it. Okay, so this takes me to this creating a HUD page. Now what I'll do is I'll work through this page with you and with that example project that I had here, which was this top-down, this is actually a third person and I've been playing with this and I've just removed the animations because I was trying to make things small enough. Now you can see this person has no animations and it just has a mesh, so that's fun because that's missing the animations. That's because the character I was looking, that's using the female character being spawned, and I'd actually deleted the female character animations and only allowed the male character animations. So if we go to, because this is the third person, what I'd need to do is, if you have a look at the content drawer, the characters I only have under mannequins. In terms of animations, I only have Manny, and I've removed Quarantine, the other one. And so what I need to do is when I spawn into the map, I would want to spawn Manny, not spawn the female character. So so if I grab this blueprint, okay, could be that my machine, looking at all of bees is doing far too many things, and I should probably reset. Okay, so this is the blueprint, and as you can see here, we've got the static mesh Quinn. So I had removed Quinn, and instead I wanted to use SMK Manny, skeleton mesh Manny. So this is changing which mesh you use. So this is in the third person blueprint. This and so you saw I just clicked on the blueprint for the game, right? So animation, use blueprint animation, and I need to use Manny animation. So the ABP and Manny is the blueprint I want to use, and I want to use it on that. And I think that is all I need to do, because I deleted Quinn, and so I would need to change it to Manny. I should have really changed it to Manny before I deleted Quinn. I'd forgotten which one I was using. If I compile that, it says okay. Let's close that and play, and let's just see, do I have an animated? I do have an animated Manny now, right? So I changed from Quinn to Manny, but because I'd removed Quinn's animations to try and decrease the size of the repository, she had disappeared. So now I've got a functional third person with Manny, and you can see I can bump into things, and I've got physics working on these. Now, if I wanted to add a HUD to here, so what we want to do is go back to this, and let's follow through creating a